Yeah, firstly, mate, I just wanted to say that it's quite an honor and thank you for joining our show because I think Superheist is a very important and very well respected metal band when it comes to this Australian heavy metal scene.
Yeah, thank you, man. No, it's a pleasure to be here. It's great to catch up with anyone that enjoys super heist music and particularly want to talk in depth about it. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries, man. I thought we would almost have a celebration of your career, given that it's been going now for is it close to 30 years that the band's been running for?
Yeah, I think it's 30 years. I mean, if you go by when the band formed, not before we first released our demo Apocalypse, it was 93. So next year will be 30 years, and then the following year will be 30 years since our first release, which was the Apocalypse demo.
Wow.
So that makes me nearly 40. So there you go.
Started at the ripe old age of 10.
That's the story I'm sticking to.
Well, I guess from my point of view, I know about you, Tobes, but you probably got a similar story to me. But I first heard of Super Heist with the release of Two Faced. Check Your Head Up. Probably like most 80s kids.
Yeah.
Given its success on Triple J and Channel V, and upon purchasing 8 Miles High, I was fully invested into the Super Heist journey, which would have been around, are we thinking, is it 97, 98, around that period?
99, 99, 98, 99, I think, for that era. And that was the first time that we really experienced. I mean, we'd been playing around as a metal band for a long time, like we started as a grindcore band in 94, as we just discussed. And then we, slowly but surely, everything that we kind of put together and released, or not released in some cases, was cleaning up the sound a bit and getting it a bit more palatable for more people other than the grind heads, So
yeah.
And I think we really, what Two Face did was it, like, we brought all our own influences into that. Berger was right into West Coast hip hop and we're metalheads, and Sean, our drummer, was a very rock inspired drummer, and so we put together something that sounded like that, because we just wanted to experiment and see where we could go with something that was a bit more commercial, if you will.
And that was heavily in the mainstream at the time too. That was at the forefront of heavy music and what was really popular at the time. So
we just fluked it. It was the same time. It was the right time. There was a lot of bands doing that kind of thing coming out of the US, like Deftones and the list goes on, and you know them all intimately. And then later on, Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park, and that's when it blew up. You would have to say nu metal was the biggest genre in the world at the time, outside of your super pop, R&B or whatever. It was certainly the biggest heavy music genre, and we just happened to be there at the right time. The same as Sunk Loto and Test Eagles to some extent. Those bands benefited from that. I guess that movement of music, which was known as nu metal.
Yeah, you sort of you answered the question I was going to ask, how you shifted from being grindcore to sort of the rap rock. Was it sort of was it an intentional sort of move, or did you find it was just gradually the members finding more influence in the nu metal that created that sound that we sort of know commonly as Super Heist?
Well, it was deliberate. Like, we definitely chose to create a more palatable and wider reaching sound. We'd been, slugging it out in a grindcore band, for good 5 years, and we were, we wanted to see if we could get on the radio and see what it was like to maybe get on a big festival. And because we still love, it's not like grindcore is the only music we liked. we were all listening to a vast array of music, and we brought all that together. Faith No More was a huge influence on Superheist. Deftones were a huge influence. Korn. In fact, I remember it was Jason North from Truth Corroded, who's a mainstay Adelaide metal band, and Jason's a fantastic promoter in his own right nowadays. We were setting up a sound check in, I don't know, maybe 96 or 97, and I might have the years wrong. There's a lot of years to remember. But during sound check, he goes, listen to this. This is the future of metal. And he puts this song on, and it was Blind by Korn. And the way that song built up and the way it kicked in and the way it just had that bounce, which is now pretty much synonymous through festivals, ever since, that gigantic crowd bounce, it's, for me, came from that song for Blind. There was, before that we had Rage Against the Machine and whatnot, but no one was doing it in that way. And that really made us go, wow, so we can have low-tuned heavy guitars still, and we can still make it a little bit more palatable. Right. So that influenced us in being able to move forward and had the confidence to move forward in the sound that we wanted to create.
It's funny,
It's funny
you should mention that bounce element in your guitar riffs, because I've read that's pretty synonymous with how you write your riffs and just the general sound of Superheist over the years. That high energy bounce, powerful, heavy riffs. So
when you play and you're in the jam room, it's cool to stand there and thrash out and move your fingers as fast as you can. But it's way more fun when it's just a couple of notes and it's just these big bounces and you can jump up and down and do whatever you want and not really fuck up too much because it's not really that hard. It was like, yeah, beauty, we're into this as well. So we simplified the riffs, we simplified the drum beat, we made it a whole lot easier, and we found that we were able to make the sounds a bit bigger as well. So there wasn't so much to have to fit in one bar anymore, So it's interesting transition.
Seemed to work pretty well for you. It catapulted you into popular music in the country. So must have tapped into something pretty well there.
Yeah, right place, right time is that. That's what that was all about. We were lucky that new metal just happened to be the flavor of the month or the flavor of the era. So we're very lucky. Right place, right time, and a lot of hard work as well. So, I do remember the hard work too.
Yeah.
When you got those slots on Falls and Home Bake, what was that feeling like to have that success finally pay off to that degree?
Well, we really had no idea. I mean, to us, we're still, supporting other bands and stuff like that, and lugging our own gear around and sleeping on mates' floors, and it wasn't until we actually went on tour, we scored an opening slot on a national tour with Grinspoon. It might have been their Ready One tour, don't quote me on that, but and we went on tour with them, and it was there when we were playing in front of really big crowds. We're like, hang on a minute, these people know the words to our songs. It's like, this is wild. And from there, Grinspoon's tour manager at the time was a guy called Greg Donovan. He, at the end of the tour, said, I want to manage you guys. This is my credentials and all that. We're like, sweet. We're just like keen that somebody else was keen. So it turns out, Greg Donovan was a pretty handy asset because he was a very well-respected tour manager at the time that was transitioning into proper artist management, and he had a lot of mates in a lot of good places, and his influence really helped get us on. While also Shock Records, who had been signed to as well, so they signed us on the off the back of 8 Miles High. We were already distributed by them, but they gave us a proper record deal after 8 Miles High. So everything was aligning for us, and all of a sudden we find ourselves on pretty much every festival that had a rock band play on it, we were on it in that sort of, 2000, 2001 period, headlined on, multiple junior events, and then, main stage for Big Day Out eventually. And yeah, it was great. And that was the best part, was being able to play those big stages and record in big proper studios with big producers and whatnot. That was great. That was really good times.
And I have to ask, did any of them compare to the Greenhouse Tavern in Coffs Harbour?
The Greenhouse Tavern holds a special place in our hearts. Mainly because whenever we played there, we would get to stay at the Hoey Moey.
Oh, yes.
Which, arguably the worst hotel in the country. But, it's still a great place. Yeah.